Keeping your pedals running smoothly is key to them performing season after season. It's certainly not a hard task, so we thought we'd show you how to do it. I'm Sebastian with Crankbrothers, and today we're going to rebuild a Stamp 7 pedal and walk you through each step so you can follow along at home. Now it is important to note that the Stamp 2 and 3 have few slightly different steps. We'll cover that in a separate video. To start off, make sure you get the correct refresh kit. We'll put a link in the description below. Once you have the refresh kit dialed, you're going to need a 2.5mm Allen, paper clip, number 1 Phillips, number 1 flathead, grease, and thread lock. An M tool works great for the Allen 2.5. Step 1 is to unscrew the 2 inner body screws at the back of the pedal. Put them aside somewhere safe. From here, the whole axle slides out from the pedal. Now there's most likely a bunch of grease on the spindle. Give that a good wipe off with the rag. With the number 1 Phillips screwdriver, remove the grease port bolt from the pedal and set it aside. What we find useful is to set everything down in order the way it came out. This way, when you go to put it back together, you know exactly where everything goes. Now you need to find something very small to help get the outer bearing and O-ring out. Unfolding a paper clip works great. Remove the O-ring from the inner spindle bearings, clean, and set aside. Now you're going to want to rotate the bearing retainer plate and the inner bearings so they are opposite direction. It should look like this. Insert a micro flathead screwdriver between the spindle and the bearing and gently pry outward to remove the half of the inner bearing. Set it aside and repeat on the other half. Slide the bearing retainer and seal off the spindle and give it a good wipe. That right there is disassembly complete. Now to reassemble, you're going to do the exact same steps except backwards. Start by installing the seal onto the spindle. Note the orientation, thick side towards the spindle threads. Thin flexible side towards the pedal body. Slide the bearing retainer over the spindle with the chamfered screws facing the spindle threads. Place the spindle upright on the table and insert one of the outer bearing halves. Orientate the bearings short side towards the spindle threads at an angle. Insert the lip of the bearing into the retainer and snap into place. No tools are necessary. Repeat on the opposite side. Once the bearing halves are in place, rotate them so they are parallel to the retainer plate and install the inner O-ring. Now slide the outer bearing onto the spindle and lightly grease all external surfaces of the spindle and bearing assembly. Place the lightly greased O-ring onto the end of the outer bearing halves. Now you can insert the spindle assembly back into the pedal body. Just make sure to watch that all components stay aligned. Now you can reinstall the 2 retaining screws. You can apply a small drop of light duty thread lock just to keep them nice and secure. Tighten those up to 2.5 Newton-meter. Last but not least, reinstall the grease port screw very, very light. It only needs 0.5 Newton-meter, so be very, very careful not to cross thread or over tighten. Give the pedal a quick few test rotations And if they feel good, you're all set to go riding. We hope this has helped to keep your pedals running smoothly. If you have any trouble, leave comments below. We'll see you guys next time.